is Virtually Inspired, the show that is all about helping you up your game when it comes to virtual learning experiences. That's what I'm calling them now, virtual learning experiences. Let's change the landscape of virtual from awful to awesome. My name is Melissa Dinwiddie, and I help innovative companies grow sales and retain customers and talent with creative virtual experiences because I infuse connection, joy, and delight into virtual trainings and events. That's what I do. I have two guests today. All of us are improvisers. My first guest, we're all going to be here together, but I'm going to introduce them one at a time. My first guest today is Gary Ware, who is the founder of Breakthrough Play. He is a sought-after corporate facilitator and keynote speaker, and he has nearly a decade of experience as a performer in improv theater, also assisting teams with unlocking creativity and confidence. Welcome, Gary. Woo, woo, woo. So glad to have you. All right. And my second guest today is Kathy Klotz-Guest. Yes, she is a guest on the show, and her name is Kathy Klotz-Guest, and she is a stand-up and improv comedian, keynote speaker, and author who brings comedy into business to make business work for people. Welcome, Kathy. Woohoo! Yay!
Yay! Yeah, we are so happy to see everybody. We're all friends, everybody, and you're all friends out there. I mean, it's so good to see everybody. So I'm excited.
It's so fun to get the two of you here together in like a virtual room. It's so cool. Yay.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't seen Gary in a long time. So
I know. He's been busy.
He has been very busy. All right.
We have to share him with the world. We have to share his genius with the world.
We have to share Gary's genius with the world. Absolutely. All right, so we are here to talk about and do some improv. So first of all, let's talk about improv. So I posted on LinkedIn today to share about what we were doing, and I talked about improv in the so many people are intimidated by improv because if they have a context for improv, it's usually seeing something like, whose line is it anyway, right? So they see these amazing professionals who are doing, off the charts, amazing things, right? On the spur of the moment, and they're being incredibly funny, and people think, oh my God, in order to do improv, I have to be at that level in front of an audience of, on TV, right? And I reframed it in terms of everything you do is improv. Whenever you're having a conversation, unless you're holding a script and reading from it, it's improv. And I tell you, there was a lot of minds being blown in the comments of that post. So discuss.
Well, first and foremost, you're right. Yes, 100%.
Yeah, and it strikes me, and I know Gary, we've talked about this over many years. It's like a conversation is co-created. It's a co-created experience. When you think about that as completely improvised, it's never going to be the same way twice unless it is scripted, and that doesn't happen. And we are improvisers, and I know you guys are with me. It's like we may not think we are, we may not call ourselves that, but in the day-to-day life of having to make choices and how we show up and moving forward despite obstacles, and we have to adapt. So we are already improvisers. And that's something that I think is just a daily way to look at it.
Agreed. And it's we take it for granted. Most people want to have control, and they want to exactly what they're going to say. But yeah, if you really look back on what you do a given day, we don't plan out everything. And so yeah,
You
once
can't.
you release that stigma of like, hey, everything is improv, everything is co-created, it does make it more inviting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Less pressure. Yeah.
Way less pressure. Not pressure, right? Yeah.
So much pressure. We don't need anymore.
We don't need anymore.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I love about doing improv as a skill that you hone with a team, or in a class, is that it helps remove the pressure when you are in a more high stakes situation. Because you get comfortable with that feeling of discomfort, right? Being on stage, for example, when you get used to that, it takes a little bit of that pressure off because you're just become more used to that. Do you feel the same way?
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's interesting. We think when we see something polished, or we see somebody who is an improviser who's been doing it for a long time, we're like, how'd they get there? And I think it's the craft. It's the low stakes. We honed it over many years, and you can too, of just having fun, low stakes situations, show up. You can do it, all of us, anybody watching this can let go every day, embrace that mindset. And over time, you start to, be more readily available in your adaptation. Your ability to adapt goes up. So I think it's a mindset, and it doesn't happen overnight, but we can be conscious of those choices. And I love that you say that, because it's practicing it in those low stakes situations, so that when you are ready and you get the big high stakes situations, it's you have a handle on it. And if you can't do it in low stakes situations, there's no way you can do it in high stakes situations. But don't start with the high stakes situations, because that's a lot of risk. That's a lot of pressure. So yeah.
Yep. So start when it's like fun and easy and it's pure play. Yeah. So let's do a little bit. I didn't mean to cut you off, Gary. Were you going to say something?
I was just going to say, and you get the perfect sort of intuition of going into play. I was like, how you play anything is how you do everything. So that is, the perfect thing of like, let's jump into it. Let's play.
Love it. All right. So what should we do? There's so many different improv activities. And that's another thing I think that people may not appreciate. Often I think when people think improv, they might instantly go to role playing, right? Which is not what we're talking about. I actually don't know that I've ever led a team in role playing. And I use improv all the time.
Yeah.
Sessions with teams, and I don't think I've ever done it role playing. You want to start with an easy, like a very, very common warm up, like sound ball.
Oh, yay!
All right. Okay, so I'm gonna take some air and compress it into a ball, and I'm going to make a sound and throw it to Gary. Vroom.
Vroom. And I'm going to
pass it on the same sound.
Yep. Here we go. I'm going to pass that same sound over to Kathy. Here we go. Vroom.
Vroom. All right, Melissa.
Kathy.
Gary. Or
and Kathy, right back at you.
Melissa.
Gary.
Melissa.
Gary.
Beep. Beep. Kathy.
Gary. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Kathy, right back at you. You said what?
You said what? Melissa. Oh my. Oh my.
Oh my. Oh my. Kathy.
Was that for me? I was laughing so much.
Yeah, it was.
To Gary. Bloop.
Bloop. Kathy, right back at you. Hoo-yah!
Oh yeah. Gary.
Melissa. Go!
Go! Gary.
Melissa.
Kathy.
Melissa. Do 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 me do me do me do.
Gary.
Kathy. Ooh.
Oh. Oh. Gary.
Pew. Melissa. Pew 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 pew.
Pew, 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 pew. Kathy.
Melissa.
All right. Oh my God. I feel like we could do that kind of like for the next hour.
We could.
I could keep going. It's fun.
I know. I could totally keep going. One way that I really love to use Soundball is get everybody in the same room. Get everybody here out of their heads, kind of helping people to arrive as a great starter warm-up activity. But there's other ways to debrief it. I often like to ask people, like, how are you? Do you notice yourself censoring yourself in any way? Something to notice, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a great one for creativity.
Agreed. Yeah,
how do you use it?
Same. Melissa, you nailed it, of asking these questions just to find out where people have potential blocks. What about this was challenging for you?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. And listening. I find that, sometimes we're all like I just can't help it. It just brings me so much joy. And it's not about right or wrong, and just listening. And if you don't get it right, to your point, Melissa, it's like, it's okay. It's low stakes. So that's where the censoring comes in, and and the more joy you have, it's just okay.
Totally. Yeah. This is such a great game, as so many of the improv games are, for noticing, for seeing, like, things start to bubble up, relationships and the way people interact with each other, the way people behave, their own sort of tendencies and patterns start to bubble up. And so the activities are basically just an opportunity to reveal the patterns that are already there, right? And Kristen asks, what kind of answers do you get to the censoring question? Well, it really varies from group to group. But and more important than the answers is the insights that the people have themselves, because that's where the beauty of using improv in an applied way. That's really the beauty of it, is that people have the opportunity to connect the dots for themselves and make those discoveries. Thanks for asking that question, Kristen.
Melissa, one point on that.
Yeah.
I've asked a similar question, and I've had someone say, "Oh, I thought everything had to be an inaudible sound, like as in no actual words or anything like that." And then so when we dove deeper, that person realized like, "Oh, you know what? I'm putting unspoken rules into a lot of things, especially my creativity."
Yeah.
Beautiful.
That's a big one. And just, what Gary's saying is one that comes up a lot that I've seen, which is the hands go up and it's like, am I doing this right?
Yeah.
And no, we're not supposed to do that. And I'm like, well, it doesn't matter. Let's just have fun. And it's interesting how we think there's rules and we want to follow our instinct because we've been so shaped to follow the rules.
Yeah.
And what an interesting observation for yourself of, are you okay with breaking rules, or where do you follow the rules, and where do you feel, you know what I mean? And just for your own sort of self-revelatory, where does that flow or not flow for you?
Assumption of rules.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
That is a big one.
Yep.
Yes.
A big one. Did I get it right? And it's like, yeah. It's like, yeah.
Yep. I am a big rule follower myself. Like, I know that about myself. So, and I'm like, oh, I like totally made assumptions that there were rules there. And I'm like, oh, I have to follow the rules.
And see, to that point, it brings up a conversation of, that no one's broken. You are right just the way that you are. And, talking about where did these come from? The fact that our schooling, and our upbringing conditioned us to think that there is one right way of doing things. It's very linear thinking. And that is one of the reasons why I feel so many people have challenges with creativity, is that you're right, Melissa. They're like, what is the right way to do this? How do I do it and get it completely right? Because I don't want to be wrong.
Yep. We were programmed to to please a single authority figure, the teacher. And I was programmed very heavily, and I did a really good job of that. Oh yeah. This is so juicy. All right, who has another activity?
I was thinking 185 because I love this game. And 185, it's a fun game, and we can talk about it afterwards because there's a lot to debrief. But 185 is a very simple construction. It's called a speed round game, and basically it's sort of like everybody plays. And there's a little bit of setup to it. And so the setup goes like this. And it's a pun-based game. So let me say that. So you'll start free associating puns with it. So can I get a suggestion to demonstrate it? Can we get a suggestion for a noun? What's a noun?
Horses.
Okay, perfect. It goes like this, the construction. 185 blanks, in this case horses. 185 horses walk into a bar. And the bartender says, we're closed. And the 185 horses say, insert pun. So in this case, I'll say 185 horses say, hey!
Yay!
All right, I get you.
So anything, 185 blanks walk into a bar, the bartender says we're closed, and the 185 blanks say, and then whatever comes with horses, whatever free associating pun is related to that. So,
and we got some suggestions now too.
Yes. All right. So let's get some suggestions. All right, Melissa, what do we got?
All right. So we got, Kristen says coffee mug.
Coffee mug. Okay. All right. Okay.
185 coffee mugs walk into a bar. Bartender says, I'm sorry, we're closed. 185 coffee mugs say, well, you're just a drip.
All right, here we go. 185 coffee mugs walk into a bar. Bartender says, "Sorry, we don't serve coffee mugs here." And the coffee mugs say, "Decaffeinated, decaffeinated." Dang, it won't come out. Decaffeinated. I'm basically trying to say you got to be kidding me, but I'm having a challenge making this work. So, all right. Anyways,
Woo! Yes, 185 ceramic. Did I get it right, or what is coffee mugs? Coffee mugs walk into a bar, and the bartender says, "Hey, we're closed." And the 185 coffee mugs say, "But hey, we're just here to hustle and grind."
Should we keep going on coffee mug or go with a new one?
We go with it. Let's pick another one.
Another one. Yeah.
Okay, we got clock.
Clock. All right.
Clock.
Okay.
185 clocks walk into a bar. Bartender says, "Sorry, we don't serve clocks here." And the clocks say, "Why? Is it because we turn into pumpkins after midnight?"
Mm-hmm. Whoa! 185 clocks walk into a bar. Bartender says, "Sorry, we're closed." And the clock 185 clocks say, "Are you just trying to wind us up?"
Woo! 185 clocks walk into a bar. And this is a cheap looking bar. And the bartender says, "Hey, we're closed." And the 185 clocks say, "But we're here because of all the great daylight savings."
Oh my God, that's great. All right. Now we got cookies.
Cookies.
Okay. Oh, actually, before I gotta show Kristen.
Oh,
had a good one.
It's about time.
Yes, nice work, Kristen.
Yes.
Woo, yeah.
All right. Cookies. 185 cookies walk into a bar. Bartender says, "Sorry, we're closed." 185 cookies say, "You just got a chip on your shoulder."
Oh, 185 cookies walk into a bar. Bartender says, "Sorry, we don't serve cookies here." And the cookies say, "Man, that crumbles."
Oh, I like that one. 185 cookies walk into a bar, and the bartender says, "Hey, we're closed." And the 185 cookies say, "Don't be a monster, cookies."
Oh my gosh.
Oh, Kristen has 185 cookies walk into a bar. Bartender says, "Sorry, we're closed." 185 cookies say, "Don't make us snickerdoodle."
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Ooh, nice.
Oh, I got one. All right. 185 cookies walk into a bar. Bartender says, "Sorry, we're closed." And the cookies say, "Fine, we'll head over to the Girl Scouts. We hear they have some nice deals anyway."
I like it. I got one more. 185 cookies walk into a bar, and the bartender says, "We're closed." And the 185 cookies take their time. They mill about. And the bartender says, "Leave already." And then the 185 cookies say, "Hey, man, we're milking this for all it's worth."
185 cookies walk into a bar. Bartender says, "Sorry, we're closed." 185 cookies say, "Well, we'll just go over to Mrs. Fields."
I know. Nice work.
All right, so I want to debrief this. I know Kathy and I have had conversations about 185 because Kathy actually rescued 185 for me.
Aww.
Because I hated this game with a passion because I first learned it at an improv school that didn't frame it well when they taught it. And the way that it was taught to me was basically everybody lines up at the back of the stage, and then whoever has a hit walks to the front of the stage. And if you are not super clever and really good at puns, then you, which I did not feel like I was super clever and good at puns, then you just feel like a loser. And the people who were like super clever and really good at puns were just like walking up there and getting all the applause and all the props and all the appreciation. And those of us who didn't feel super clever and good at puns just felt like deer in the headlights, not validated. And it felt like a failure experience. It felt really bad. And then Kathy and I were in a Zoom room, and we did 185. And for some reason in that moment, there was no particular setup for 185 or anything. I just was like, I'm just going to go for it. I'm just going to be in the space of sort of what I refer to as a creative sandbox mind space of just play and just jump in and don't give a damn about the outcome. And I had a really good time. And I also sort of approached it with, if you're familiar with doing musical improv, where you make up songs on the fly, there's a concept of rhyming. If you do it with confidence and it doesn't rhyme, it rhymes. So if that makes sense to those of you who are listening. So I approached 185 the same way, which is like, I'm just going to say it. And if it's the stupidest thing and it's not really a pun, I'm just going to say it with confidence. And I had a lot more fun with it. Yeah. And I noticed that there were other people in the room who were not stepping forward and playing, and they were not having as good of a time. But I was having a good time because I was jumping forward and playing. And I think what we can do to create, I think what can help make 185 a game that is about creativity and about idea generation is to set up a space of psychological safety.
Yeah.
So here are some of the things that I think that can help with that. One is that everybody takes a turn. So you set it up that everybody takes a turn, and it's not just whoever has an idea goes, but everybody takes a turn one after another. You go and you just say whatever it is that you say, and if it doesn't rhyme, it doesn't matter. You know, if it doesn't rhyme, it doesn't matter. If it's a stupid pun, it doesn't matter. And everybody's going to cheer and applaud you, regardless of how good or crappy your pun is. And that it's about getting out there and doing it and not being like the best punster in the room. And I've done this in workshops since then and had a better experience with it. I also set it up that people who didn't want to play didn't have to.
Yeah.
So that, some people just wanted to watch and they felt more comfortable doing that. So yeah. I'm curious, like, what would you add to that? What, or take away? Like, what
I
do you
think what you said, Melissa, is so spot on. And the framing is crucial because being that I'm not necessarily a fan of pun games, if it would have been set up the way that you mentioned that it was set up, I would have hated 185.
Yeah.
How it was set up for me was the complete opposite, where it was set up as you're going to tell a bad joke. And the goal here is to do it with confidence and wait for the pause. Like that's, so it was designed like in frame to us that these are going to be bad. These are going to be very bad. And the goal isn't to like be funny, but it's to get up there and say something with confidence and let it land.
Yeah.
And then move on. Like, and had it not been set up that way, I think I would have been in the same thing of like, I hate 185. But like, I've always seen 185 of, oh, our job here is to be very crappy. And then I think from that, it gives us that permission, like you said, to be in that creative sandbox of like, oh, these are going to be bad anyway. So why not try to explore?
Yeah.
Yes, I love that. That, you know, adding that label of bad or crappy, it takes all the pressure away.
Yeah.
This is like, I have an activity that I do called crappy doodles.
I love it. I love it.
People are so scared of drawing. You know, you ask them to draw something and it was like, oh no, oh my God, I can't draw. But if you ask them to make a crappy doodle, it's like, oh, I can do that. And it's the same damn thing. I'm asking them to do the exact same thing. It's all in the frame. So asking people to tell a bad joke, well, anybody can tell a bad joke, right?
Yes.
Brilliant.
Yeah. That is a really great observation, Gary. And I really love that. I sort of learned it at a school that, you know, like Melissa, it was like, no, you got to get the pun and you got to hit the pun. And it ended up being sort of this competitive situation, which when we would do shows, there's a certain amount of like, you want to have a good show. And so, you know, it's sort of like, it's anybody's game, meaning whoever has the pun jumps in the circle, you know. But when you're talking about a space for brainstorming and mind mapping, what's happening behind the scenes is you're free associating. And it's such a brilliant creative exercise to work. Well, this sounds like that. And there's a concept in improv that I know Gary and Melissa know. It's sort of that third idea. It's, okay, cows make me think of udders. Udders make me think of milk. How can I then go 2, 3, 4 layers out? Milk makes me think of spills, you know. How can, and all these different possible puns, because your brain is doing that in real time. And so what rescued the game for me is much the way Melissa described. It's like when I did it, you know, live and I, you know, performed for many, many years doing improv comedy shows with this game. What made it fun for me was exactly what Melissa said, the reframing of just have fun and the confidence. And what I did was when people would try to rush me out of the box, I took my time and I was like, thank you. Even if it failed, I took a bow. I was like, you're welcome. Your hate only makes me stronger. What? You didn't like that pun? And I would just have fun with it. And it made the difference for me. And then I started loving it because I just had grace for, you know what I mean? And it just that framing of it doesn't matter. Take the space in the bow and take that beat, like Gary says. And it made such a difference. And owning it, and it's okay. You don't have to get it right. It's just having fun.
And
I was just going to say that as an audience member, what the audience loves when it's a great pun. You know that. That's a no-brainer. But what the audience really loves is watching somebody be up there and really be in it, right? Like, I just made a terrible joke.
And I'm committed to it. The commitment. If the
commitment. Yes, absolutely. Oh, yeah. Go ahead, Gary.
I was going to also say it's a great sort of transition of the difference between theatrical, like sort of improv training and training from like an applied improv standpoint, like, you know, for leadership and innovation and whatnot, in that we look a little bit deeper than hey, this needs to be a good pun. Like, all right, what are the lessons here?
Yep.
And one thing I like about this and like other games that really put people on the spot, and sometimes you might say, oh, I feel so bad for them. Well, I learned recently where they said psychological safety, like they said, what comes first, trust or vulnerability? And most people think, oh, I have to trust you before I can be vulnerable. There's a lot of research that shows that when you allow yourself to be vulnerable, the trust grows. And if you set up the game the right way, where people, you know, you don't have to play if you don't want to. However, we invite you to, we're going to support you. And then when people, no matter what people do, we support them. Even if it's a bad joke, they start to get that realization like, oh, all right, I can start to say some wild things and no one's going to make fun of me.
Yep.
It's so true. And can I just say, Gary, that's so true, because what I've noticed, and this is so important, that what Gary's saying about psychological safety and applying it and going deeper than, like, say, pure improv. But what I've loved about this game is I've seen people with the right reframing, like Melissa, become so into it, so committed, and have so much fun. And then you start to see the confidence, the creative courage, and that it takes off. And what has been fun is seeing people who maybe were slow or a little hesitant. Then all of a sudden they're just going like this, because the safety and the trust, it sort of greases the creative courage. And then you start to see them take off, and they're these incredible punsters. And it didn't matter, but they just needed that support. And that's what's lovely about it.
And as Christy says, the only way is up.
Yeah.
When you start with that frame. But you have to start.
Yeah, for sure. Go Christy. Yes.
Now we're running overtime the normal length of this show, but I would love to keep going if you two have the time. So cool. Awesome. So Gary, do you have a game that you would like to lead us through?
Yes. This is a collaboration game. This is a storytelling game. And I love that we have an odd number of people, which makes it a little bit more fun. It's called Unfortunately, Fortunately. So, we start by getting some sort of topic, and we will tell a story. And the way that it goes is the first line
get the topics going in the comments. Yeah. It takes a little while for them to show up. So start typing some topics in the comments while Gary is sharing how this is going to work. Please,
yes. What are some topics that we can talk about? It can be made up, it can be true, it doesn't matter, and how it's going to go. We should probably just go in the order that I see here. Melissa, then me, then Kathy, and go in that order. And it's going to alternate between, the statement that someone's going to say is unfortunately blank, and then the next person's going to say fortunately, and then unfortunately, and we'll see where it goes, and we'll just keep going, for a little bit. The goal here is to practice all the things that we talked about, the listening, the supporting, the yes-anding, and then we can talk about it a little bit.
Do we have any topics? Yes, let's see. Do we?
I know, right?
Topics.
Ooh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, elephants love peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
Elephants love peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
That makes sense.
Yes. Thank you, Kate, for giving us that.
All right. Okay, so I start with unfortunately.
Yeah, we'll start unfortunately. That's great.
Unfortunately, there was no peanut butter left in the entire larder.
Fortunately, the herd, knew about this, and what they heard is that if they traveled north, they can find a wise man that can help them acquire some.
Unfortunately, when they got there, the wise man was out helping another herd solve their jelly and peanut butter crisis.
Fortunately, the wise man had an assistant who knew where to direct the herd.
Unfortunately, the assistant was dyslexic and got turned around and then sent them in the wrong direction.
Well, fortunately, as they were heading the wrong direction, they passed the other herd, and they were able to swap some stories.
Unfortunately, one of the elephants in the other herd had a bad and very contagious case of elephant COVID.
Fortunately, our herd had been vaccinated and boosted. And though they caught the elephant COVID, it didn't slow them down too much.
Unfortunately, because of all that was going on, there was a run on peanut butter and jelly. So it was beginning harder to find than the COVID vaccinations for the herd.
Fortunately, the peanut butter producers cranked up their production quotas.
Unfortunately, because of the gap in the supply chain, the delivery trucks were backed up, and it was going to take a good 2 weeks before they got to the plant to get that new shipment.
Well, fortunately, this herd knew exactly where those trucks were, and they were going to go to the source and get that peanut butter.
Unfortunately, all of the rental cars that they were going to use to get to the source were booked.
Fortunately, they fell on a struck of good luck. They had one more. However, they had to walk 2 miles to get it.
Unfortunately, when they were walking those long 2 miles, they had a little change of heart.
Fortunately, they while they were having this change of heart on that 2 mile walk, they decided that they really liked almond butter.
And scene. Cool. I think we can end it there. Yay.
So fun. Oh my goodness.
So fun. So fun. I love it.
Super fun. So one of the things that I really love about this activity is that, well, first of all, it's super fun, but also there's something really kind of liberating about continually looking at seeing the positive and the negative back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. It can really help get people out of a thinking rut.
Yeah, no, I agree. And from an innovation standpoint, I really like doing this like during innovation labs and whatnot. You find that because you are looking at both sides of the coin, simultaneously, you end up going to places that you probably wouldn't have thought of otherwise.
Yeah. It's really fun to reframe the challenge. And with every twist and turn, one of the things I'm always amazed by is, that concept of, are we defining the problem accurately? And is it a problem? Maybe it's not a problem, and the problem we thought it was. And in reframing it, either fortunately or unfortunately, you see things you didn't see before. I think that's a really expansive way to look at possibility. And I just love that,
Totally. Yes.
Yeah.
And one good thing about this game, so in the debrief, some of the questions I asked, I said, knowing that we were going to go back and forth between unfortunately and fortunately, when we landed on an unfortunately, how did it make you feel? And a number of times I get people said, oh, it was just more of a challenge, like rather than in real life when we're hit with an unfortunately. Sometimes it can be so devastating because we work so hard, and then we get this unfortunately, this bump in the road, and it just throws us for a loop, and then it, instead of getting us into that creative mindset.
Yes, absolutely. I love that. Such a great reframe.
Yeah. I think one of the things that's come up for me in sort of debriefing this is, how people feel about where they think the story is going to go. And it's always, you're listening to the story, but you also have to listen to the person right before you. And it's interesting, you have to track a couple things, and your ability to really listen and yes and to what was just said before you, whether it's unfortunately or fortunately, you have to honor what has been said before you. And it really is really truly getting out of your head and listening. And I think for some people it can be a challenge, but that's good that they know that, you know, and in the debrief, that's something like an aha that people go, yeah, I need to listen.
Yeah, it's a great listening game. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, this was so cool to get to do 3 totally different activities, all improv activities, all activities that, you know, games that improv groups would do for, you know, warm-ups, some that might be even done, like certainly 185 might be done for performance, all great activities to do with teams, that fabulous things to do to build trust and leadership skills and spontaneity and all of these, you know, great toolbox of skills that improv teaches. This has been so fabulous. So each of you, let's talk about what you have, you know, what's going on in your world. What do you have coming up? Anything
Kathy,
exciting and new in your world? Kathy.
Sure. Well, I've got a series of new programs that I've launched, including Stand Up for Your Voice and Brave Bold Story Bootcamp. And if you've ever said, you know, I want to learn some of these tools, I want to expand my voice, my confidence, and do some comedy, or you want to learn sort of the basics of storytelling and maybe raise your storytelling game, and infuse it with your own voice and your own humor, then I've got different workshops. So that's what's up in the immediate thing for me.
And I have done Kathy's Stand Up for Your Voice, and it is amazing. I highly recommend it. So definitely check that out. Thank you, Kathy.
Yeah,
and Gary, how about you?
Yes. I have, a number of, corporate workshops that I'm doing. But the big thing that is on the horizon of being finished is my long-awaited book called The Playful Rebellion, Maximize Workplace Success Through the Power of Play. And it's going to be out in September. However, if you want to be first to know when it's available to be purchased, you can go to my website, breakthroughplay.com/playful rebellion, and you can get on the list, and I'll let you know. But yeah, I'm super excited.
That's
super
so
excited.
exciting! Yes!
Wow, that is so exciting. And I have a little ticker that's going by with both of your websites.
Yes.
Super exciting. Yes. And I'm going to, let's see, hide that for just a sec. And let's see, I have to get to the right button here. And there we go. There's me. And let me make me big for a second. Let's see.
Go big.
Go big. Go big. There we go.
Space.
I got to get big. And hide my display name for a second. Okay. So what's up for me is every month I run a learning lab, non-boring virtual meetings learning lab, where we do hands-on activities, typically improv-based, very similar to the kinds of things that Gary and Kathy and I just did just now, where you get to do them hands-on, and they're always thematic, so grouped around a theme. So you get to learn 2 to 3 activities, do them hands-on. So June 16th is my next learning lab, and the theme is spontaneity. So learn to think on your feet. So you get to really flex those spontaneous muscles. If you have never been to a learning lab before, you can come to your first one for free using the code FIRSTTIMER. And let me put up the banner for the learning lab. There it is. bit.ly/monthly lab, capital M, capital L. It is case sensitive. We'll get you to the website. And again, you can use that code First Timer to register for your first lab for free. It's just an hour, a lot of fun. And yeah, so, and actually we'll be doing it on Butter, which is a new and exciting virtual meeting platform, different from Zoom. So come join me on June 16th. And that is that. I will come back to, there we go, our regular layout and come back to just me and bring back, come over here, bring back our display names.
It's like butter. It's going to be like butter on butter.
I don't know where our display names went. There we go. It's going to be butter on butter. That's right.
Butter on butter. Give me more butter.
Butter on butter. Oh, and Kristen said she already registered. That's so exciting. Let me get back to the comments. Here we go. Yay, Kristen. So excited.
Okay. You go, Kristen. Go,
and
Kristen.
Yes, she says butter is great. Yeah, butter is very cool. I go back and forth between, I use both Zoom and Butter. And there are a lot of really cool features that Butter has that I am enjoying using. So anyway, Gary and Kathy, this has been so fun. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for giving me a little boost of play in the middle of my day. And yeah, thanks everybody for joining us live. Oh, Sherry, good to see you. Hello. Thank you, Kristen. Thank you, Christy. Thank you, LinkedIn user.
Exactly.
And see everybody next time. Oh wait, I forgot completely to read next month, 2 weeks from now. My next guest is Ulises Moreno Serena, who focuses on generating development of the organization's human capital so that talent responds appropriately to business needs, serving as a catalyst for change from a wellness approach for individuals. So join me on the 21st when Ulises will be my guest. All right. See everybody next time.
Bye.
Thanks for watching. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell to get video updates. Thanks.